So big law salaries are high. And I mean, my paycheck every single month post-tax is over $13,000. So what that means for me is avoiding the golden handcuffs. And I first learned about the golden handcuffs back when Topping the Curve, my law school coaching business, used to be a podcast, and I would interview judges, attorneys, big law attorneys, so on and so forth. And I remember I was on with, I believe it was like a nonprofit director, and she talked about the big law handcuffs, otherwise known as the golden handcuffs. But essentially, it applies to every career where you're making a significant amount of money, and it's called lifestyle creep, avoiding lifestyle creep. And so I'm gonna be talking about how I am avoiding that lifestyle creep with this new high income that I'm making from my big law job. And of course, I do have my business income on top of that. So there's a couple of things that I've been doing. And I think first and foremost, I make sure that I have a budget. I think when we come into this kind of money, or we're making this kind of money, we feel like we don't really need a budget, or we don't really follow one because we have enough money, the money's there. And that's kind of the rabbit hole that is so easy to fall down. It's a trap. It is a trap because that's exactly what lifestyle creep is, right? You'll slowly and slowly and slowly just start swiping and swiping and swiping because you know you got the money, you know you're good for it, you know that multiple five-figure check is about to hit every single month, and so you know you have the money, but that's how you fall down that trap, right? And so making sure that I have a budget is one of the first things I did, and you should do as well if you fall into this category, because what you want to do in that budget is make sure you've got an exact number, an exact budgeted amount of how much a month am I going to be investing. And that is so important because when you are making this amount of money, you want to make sure that you are setting yourself up for your retirement so you don't have to work your entire life, or if you're in big law, the golden handcuffs of big law, you don't have to stay in big law your entire career if you don't want to. You want to make sure that you've got that money compounding in the stock market for you so that you've got that money to rely on once you leave big law or once you're ready to retire, even if you choose to stay in big law. So that's probably the most important category that you need to have in that budget, is that investment category. And how I recommend doing that is figuring out your number. So what is your retirement number? How much do you want to have by a certain age? In 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, whatever it may be, and figure out, work backwards from there. How much do I need to be investing to get there? You can literally Google compound interest calculator or investment calculator, whatever, and plug in your numbers, and you'll see how much you need to be investing every single month, and immediately deduct that from your paycheck. Once you've got that done, you need to also figure out how much are you going to be saving, right? So if you don't already have a high yield savings account, and that's what I made sure I had set up, and I fully maxed out my but I fully funded my high yield savings account with 6 months of my monthly living expenses, right? So those are probably that's the main thing that I am doing to avoid the lifestyle creep, is the investments and the high yield savings. And the third main thing that I'm doing is I have a budget on how much I'm going to be spending on myself. So my fun money every single month. Now there's a couple of different ways for you to do this. You can do it as a percentage of your income, or you can just choose a dollar amount. For me, I chose to figure out how much I want to invest first. And then once my high yield savings was maxed out, I then did, okay, how much are my monthly expenses? And then only after those were done did I see how much was left. And then from there say, okay, this is how much I'm going to allocate for my spending every single month. And that's what you can do too, so that you have a set amount that you know that you're spending, and you're not just kind of willy-nilly every single month, okay, 2,000 this month, 10,000 this month, whatever it may be, but you've got this idea of what that's going to be. So the next thing that I'm doing to avoid lifestyle creep or the golden handcuffs is making sure that I have passive investments, or in other words, income generating assets. And so instead of buying depreciating assets, like going out and buying a six-figure car, which a car is a huge depreciating asset. I will eventually go buy a new car, don't get me wrong. But instead of jumping and doing that immediately, I want to make sure I have income generating assets that's making me money first. And so then the income, which would be the passive income from those income generating assets, I can use that to then go purchase my depreciating asset or my car, right? So for instance, one thing that I'm doing is I am saving up for a investment property. So instead of choosing to go out and buy my first $1 million home and living in that home, I'm choosing to buy a multiplex with a 4-unit, a 3-unit, live in one, house hack, rent out the rest. And then when I move out, That's fully rented out. People are paying my mortgage, and ideally, I'm also bringing in passive income because I do it over and over again. So that passive income, what's left over after the mortgage is covered, I pocket, and that is passive income, right? So real estate, investment properties, that's another thing that I'm doing. Of course, stocks as well, because compound interest, but you could also do stocks that give you dividends, and that's passive income because you're not actively doing anything to earn that income. So kind of to put it succinctly, I am taking my active income and seeing where I can put it to generate myself passive income, right? And so I'm not having to actively work for every single dime I make, which again goes towards helping me avoid that lifestyle creep, because while I'm keeping my lifestyle the same, as evidenced by my budget, I'm also increasing the amount of money I am making passively and not just actively. The next thing that I'm doing, this kind of fits into the investment budget, but of course, is every single year I'm maxing out my Roth IRA. Of course, because I am above the income threshold to contribute to a Roth IRA, then I do have to do the backdoor Roth IRA, but nonetheless, making sure that I max that out each year. For 2024, it was $7,000, and also for 2025, it is also $7,000. The next thing that I am doing is I am living below my means. And I feel like that one should be obvious, but I think when people say or when you hear living below your means, you immediately think you're living like dirt poor, or you're just like scrounging by and you're not doing anything, right? And that's just not the case, right? When I say living below my means, I mean, for example, let's just throw out a random number. If I'm making $10,000 a month, my living expenses are not going to be $9,999, right? No, I'm not living all the way up to how much money I make. I mean, you will see people who make $10,000 a month and their car note is $6,000. I mean, why is your car note more than 50% of your income? Huh? So that's what I mean when I say living below my means, right? I am living significantly below how much I'm making. So for example, if I were making $10,000 a month, I personally wouldn't want my monthly living expenses to be more than $3,000 a month, about 30%. Right? And so that's what I mean when I say living below my means. So obviously, as your income increases, that amount can also increase, but I'm making sure I'm really not trying to cross that 40% threshold at all. So that's what I say when I mean living below my means. The next thing that I am doing is actually investing in myself. So I am spending money here. And what this looks like for me is I have cleaners. So people who come and clean my apartment. Why? Because that's time every single week that I'm giving back to myself to invest elsewhere, invest in myself, invest in my business, focus on other income generating activities, or just other activities that are going to enrich myself, because I can pay cleaners less. So let's say, I don't even know, $100 a week to clean my apartment in an hour than me spend 2 hours to clean my apartment when that time could have been better spent elsewhere, right? And so that's just a smart move on my part. The next thing, for example, is I use a meal delivery service, because instead of spending 6 hours going out, shopping, coming back and cooking my dinner and doing all that stuff, I can instead spend that 6 hours learning a new skill, investing in my business, taking on a new coaching client, right? Working my job, getting an assignment done, something that's actually making me money, that's going to help build me towards my ultimate goal, right? And so again, like making smart investments and investments in my future, that's going to give me a return later on down the line. And so those are just a couple of different things that I am doing to make sure that I'm avoiding the golden handcuffs or avoiding lifestyle creep. Let me know what you guys are doing to avoid lifestyle creep and the golden handcuffs in the comments down below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and follow me on my other social media at Sephora Gray Esquire. That's ESQ for short. And I will see you on my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.